Okay guys, look how bad the storm is right now. My plants are on the ground, I can't do anything.
Bro, oh my gosh. I hope this is just depressing. You can't even see out there. Look at that. Oh my gosh, another one hit the dust. Let's just hope these plants can survive the next day when the storm is finally over. Welcome to Riley's Garden Adventures, and today the plan is a tour. This is part 2 of my garden tour series, and it is July 14th, 2023. I will try to get this uploaded as soon as possible so you can see my garden in nearly real time. Now, this tour will not be as long as it is piping hot in the 90s, and I already did a more comprehensive garden tour in June. So let's begin. First, we have my San Marzano tomato that I planted lately. That I planted late, and that I was worried because my last San Marzano didn't do that well. Next we have is my 4 vivacious hybrids. I planted these for the fall season, so they're really small, but I decided not to prune them for fall and just going to let them grow wild. A big difference than what I did for summer. See how production is like if the plants do better and not, or whatnot. We got my flowers here. My citronella got really big. Here we got my brandy boy. So my brandy boy is doing quite well. Still more harvest to come. Lemon boy plus and better boy plus. Both having some disease pressure, but they will soon be reviewed. We got one almost fully ripe here and better boy plus almost ripe here. I plan to do a video of both of them, the plus series tomatoes. Then we got my better boy original OG classic, winner of last year. This has not produced any ripe tomatoes yet. As you can see, there's really green in the background. We got my Berry King. Not really a great cherry tomato, but it's okay. Then we got my zinnia flower pot over here and my 4 o'clocks, which are starting to bloom. That's really nice to see. And then over here, cherry baby tomatoes that I'm gonna do for the fall season. And that they are going to also be grown without pruning, make them bush up and whatnot. We have my hanging basket that the coleus has spread out really nicely and the dahlias are starting to bloom. This one had a red bloom before. There's my birdhouse, it's vacant. We got my 2 brandy boys that will replace one of these, most likely this super steak that is not doing so well. A lot of my tomatoes since the last video tour has been succumbing to herbicide drift and disease despite my best efforts. I would prune heavily, spray fungicide, but then rain would come by and destroy everything, and yeah, that's the state of this. Got my dahlia, got smacked over in the rain. There was a massive rainstorm that knocked over many things. Queen of the Night doing quite well. Some blossom end rots, whatever. Can't stop those, but the ones that don't have blossom end rots gonna look really good to review. Great White suffering from herbicide drift, kind of look like a spindly plant, but we do have some tomatoes. Let's move around. Pantano Romanesco or Pantano Romanesco doing quite bad. Herbicide drift and disease has ravaged this plant to points of sadness. We got some ripe ones back here, but they don't look too good enough to review in a video yet, so we'll have to wait a little bit. Pink Girl still doing quite well.
Girls!
Yeah, so we got my Rudy F2. I'm really excited to save the seeds on this one to make Rudy F3. I'm trying to save this for 6 consecutive generations to stabilize this variety that someone has left the seeds for me when they passed away. But yeah, these were going to be really cool. Rudy F2. I'm waiting for this to get overripe so I can save the seeds. Then we got my Cherokee Purple. I harvested all the fruits because I have a taste test video coming up with both Purple Boy and Cherokee Purple. That's going to be amazing. Find out which one's the best, and the answer might surprise you. We got Big Pink. Big Pink looking really good. Looks exactly like Pink Girl and Shin Lovely and Brandy Boy in the color wise. Look, it's a very healthy plant. Very, very healthy. Little disease whatsoever. Then we got Shin Lovely. What happened, man? Disease, a lot of disease. Very sad. When we got Garden Leader Monster. Now, I don't really think this is Garden Leader Monster. I think the seed packet is mislabeled. Here's a picture of the seed packet right here, and then look at the fruits. That's definitely not Garden Leader Monster, so I will not be reviewing Garden Leader Monster this year. My strawberry plant's doing quite well. Look at that. There's some ripe fruits just ready to be eaten. Yeah, let's get one right now. Oh yeah? Wow. Sweeter than last time, but still pretty mid. Store-bought's still better. But anyways, look at this monster of a fruit. Bodacious hybrid. Bodacious. This is literally bodacious. Wow. This thing is massive. Biggest tomato I've ever grown. And it looks picture perfect. No cracking. No weird super blue infused tomato. I really don't like how those look. Huge tomato. Can't wait till this gets even bigger and ripens. Let's move this to a side. This is my other brandy boy that will be a replacement plant of my early girl. You got Honey Delight, which is kind of slow to ripen and has a little bit of disease pressure, but it should be soon. We can see one turning yellow here. Ka-chow, the Chinese tomato, doing quite well. The fruits are pretty small, about the same size of early girl, and it's doing well, but also disease pressure. My onions from the store, looking okay. And then we got my big Rocky Ford green melon. This giant plant literally stretches down here. But the thing about this plant is that it only has one freaking fertilized melon. This is the only melon in the entire plant that was able to fertilize and grow. So this entire plant is supporting one melon, and this better be worth growing because this is such a big pot and such a big plant and just one melon. Disappointing. We got honeycomb hybrid. The one I'm gonna review with honeycomb delight right here. I kind of let the fruits kind of get overripe because this is not yet ready to taste test, and I want to taste test them blind, both together. And then we got super sweet 100. It's on its last pair of life. Lots of its fruits been picked out. It's still making some up here, but nothing crazy like before. We have exhausted of its supply. Early girl looks god awful, very diseased, very weak. Lots of fruits still on the way though. I will pull that out and replace it with this brandy boy you see right here. My dahlias looking good. My one basil plant looking good. I'll talk more about basil later. Some of my plants here, my herbs. Wow, look at the spearmint or whatever mint it is. My thyme, English thyme, looking really fine. Then we got my big rainbow, also disease ridden, but the plant is not dying. And we're gonna have a good hefty yield. And this is a weird non-disease part. But yeah, hefty yield coming on the way. Big rainbow is gonna taste delicious. Can't wait to try that. So that's basically the garden deck. Let's move on to the garden. All right, so here we are at the garden bed. Much different than the last time you saw it, loaded with fruits. But let's get a little bit around here. Celebrity Plus, still pumping out fruits. What a stud in my garden. And it's making new growth with new blooms. Gonna keep getting fruits from this for a while now. Disease is not bothering it. We got Burpee's big boy. Burpee's big boy doing okay. Disease has got it too. We got some fruits on the way. Don't mind the bird food that's on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can't wait to test this out. Burpee's big boy and Better Boy rematch for this year. We got Abraham Lincoln, the best president in the world, but the fruit of this thing is crazy productive. Look, 4 here, we got 4 here, 4 here. 4 scores and 7 years ago, my friend. But yeah, Abraham Lincoln's doing quite well. The leaves are doing pretty resistant to disease despite these little brown spots popping up and this weird white texture. I'm not gonna really be doing any management of the disease because it's already giving a lot of fruits, and I'm going to clear it out for fall. But yeah, Abraham Lincoln's doing quite well. We got big beef packing the beef of production. Look at those clusters, and it's quite healthy so far, and we just have more and more. Production does kind of dip off as we get higher, but the plant is tall and it is healthy. Can't wait to taste test big beef, but right next to it, even more impressive, big beef plus. Look at that cluster of fruit right here versus that one, looking well. And we got some here, and it leads all the way up. Such a nice vigorous plant. We will do big beef versus big beef plus in the future. Then we got Big Zack, which is the tomato that can possibly go up to 6 pounds. Quite a big fruit right here. Not as big as Bodacious, but it is big, and I can't wait to see how that tastes. But I do not think we'll be having any 6-pounder fruits unless I get some weird fused super bloom. We got Steakhouse disappointment of the year. Literally how many flower blossoms on this plant, but not a single tomato. What is going on here? This plant is nearly, what, 7 feet tall and 7 feet plus, and not a single fruit. Not a single one. And yet all of these other varieties right next to it has fruits. So this is a disappointment of the year. What is going on with this plant? Very sad. Then we got, I think, Porterhouse. Porterhouse doing quite fine. We got some nice clusters right here. It's not as productive like Steakhouse, but it does have something. So we are happy to have that. Then we have Super Sauce. Now I was really hesitant to see how well this would do, but it has surprised me pleasantly. Just look at the shape of these fruits. They're like elongated mega aromas. Wow. I'm excited. These are pretty big fruits. Just look at that. So, can't wait to see how Super Sauce stacks up to a San Marzano tomato. Then we got another Better Boy Plus right here. My extra Better Boy. And it has some fruit clusters here. Kind of small, nothing crazy, but the container is small, so I won't hold that against it. Then we have this one mislabeled Black Krim. I call it mislabeled because the fruits were supposed to look like that, but instead we got small red fruits the size of 4th of July, so that definitely wasn't labeled correctly. And last but not least, in the garden bed, we have pineapple, which I harvested the only 2 fruit on this thing and did a taste test already, so you don't see any of the fruits. Now that we got the garden bed, let's move on to the flower bed. Okay, now we're at the flower bed, and this is a huge difference than you remember last time. First and foremost, I just want to show the plethora of flowers that has happened since we last saw it. All the zinnias, all the celosias, and all the marigolds are in full bloom. It is just crazy nice to see all this coming in. We got the state fairs here. Just look at the beauty of this. And we got tons and tons of bees, wasps, butterflies, you name it, swarming around in these things. So I got to be a little bit careful not to bother them. But just, man, even got some of my suncatcher sunflowers back here. Quite tall, quite beautiful. And I'm just very proud of this flower garden. Here we have is my random tomatoes that sprouted when I dumped my ungerminated seeds. It doesn't really matter because the deer has been eating it. The deer literally pulled us out last night and ate it. But yeah, my gazania is not really blooming anymore. I think they've reached the end of their life. And we got my basil here, doing quite well. And then my last is my citrus Meyer lemon tree. Let's look at the side of this, and let's showcase my hibiscus. This hibiscus has not been able to bloom because the deer keeps eating all the flower buds before they do so. But yeah, it looks really good foliage, so that's good. And then we got my Fiesta hibiscus. This one's also Dancer, by the way. My hibiscus, that's Fiesta, has also had its blooms eaten, as you can see right there. But it did look beautiful before the deer came. We got my State Fair zinnias. Massive beauties. I think State Fair zinnias are the best looking zinnias out of all the zinnias I've grown this year. Might even just buy a bulk size of State Fair and sprinkle them all across next summer. And then the last thing I want to show you in the flower garden is my sunflower. Now my sunflower didn't reach the 14 feet tall. It reached roughly about 8 foot something, or like almost 9 feet tall. But as you can see, the flower head is bent. And for example, this is about, what, a foot across, pretty giant head, and there is seeds about to be ready to be collected, which I'm very excited to. I'll probably give those seeds away to some people I know, and maybe even harvest them and eat them. But my sunflower did quite well. I'm very, very proud of this sunflower. Look at the thickness of this stem. It's thicker than the bamboo. It's so thick. Very strong plant. I wasn't able to grow a sunflower last year because a deer ate it, but this year, my zinnia and marigold while protected it from fully being destroyed. So yeah, that's the flower bed. Let's move on to the pepper garden. We're nearly done with the tour, but let's get a good look at my bell peppers. Now I've harvested already about 8 bell peppers from this plant already, and there's four on the way still. So this plant has been producing 12 bell peppers on one tiny container. And these are pretty good size. This one's already ready to be harvested. And then next we have is my sweet banana peppers. Wow, loaded with peppers. Beautiful plant, very productive. Highly recommended if you just want to have a prolific plant. I haven't really tasted this. I can't say how it tastes, but it's looking good. Then we got my other peppers, my Arapaho cayenne. This thing is extremely prolific. I think I'm better at growing peppers than I am tomatoes, honestly, at this point. With how little I did for these peppers compared for the tomatoes, but how well they're growing and how less disease they have. There's my rose bush. Let's move around. And this is my basil farm. This is about 15 gallons of 1 gallon basil plants, and they are swarming everything. I was planning to make tons and tons of basil pesto, but I just got overwhelmed by how much basil it would make. I would make about 2 jars a week, and even though I would make them, these things would grow way faster than I could ever use them. And so now they're flowering there, and they're an ornamental. And that's basically my pepper garden. Let's move on to the final part, which is my overflow. Okay, last and least is my overflow garden, which I've completely abandoned. I just let it go, and I just water it occasionally. The deer come back and eat everything. These plants been trying to make suckers to outgrow the deer's eating, but they simply just cannot keep up. That lettuce is somehow still there. I planted that in January, but yeah, this overflow, it's quite sad, quite depressing to look at. We got my tray of basil that I was supposed to plant in different pots, but I got overwhelmed. And that's basically the overflow garden. We're almost done with the tour. I just want to show you some of my fall seeds that I'm planning for this fall. Okay, now we are indoors, and this is my fall seed lineup for so far. This is incomplete. Do not think this is the final lineup, but we got 3 different kinds of peas. We got the Cascada, Burpiana Early, and Snowbird. We got 1 carrot seed here. Gonna try out carrots this year. I don't really like to grow plants. I grow underground because of my failures of last fall with the radishes and the turnips and the calabrese. Then we got 1 garden bean here. I'm supposed to buy another garden bean. Probably gonna be a green bean, a pole bean that can climb up my trellis. And then we got 1 pumpkin sugar pie. Don't know if I'm going to be able to grow this in this year because I was going to put it in the big pot where the melon is, but the melon is taking up some space and pumpkins take some time to mature. So basically, yeah, this is my fall seed lineup. We will be adding more. I'm going to buy plants from a nursery, and I'm also going to look around for some seed potatoes as well and look at more seeds. And yeah, that's just basically it. So stay tuned for more adventures on Riley's Gardening Adventures.